Hey everyone, welcome back, or welcome if you are new. My name is Tonya, and today we are doing our first reading vlog of 2026. I hope all of you had an amazing holiday season and a great new year. And now this week we're kicking things off with a reading vlog, and we'll see if there's any other fun things that we get into. I know I'll be doing a book haul, and we may do a little bit of decorating in this video as well. And then, of course, reading. And for our TBR for this video, currently I'm reading The Fury of the Gods by John Gwynne, which is the third book in the Bloodsworn saga. And I'm at about, I think, 65-70%. We're heading into our final big battle. So, you know, always a crazy time in a book. I believe I have around 150 pages left. And if you're not familiar with this particular series, it is an epic fantasy and has some roots in Norse mythology and Germanian tribes. So a few different things kind of playing into the background. And in this particular world where the series takes place, the gods had a great battle hundreds and hundreds of years ago, and they were all killed except for one who was imprisoned. And the gods weren't very nice, so people were okay with the fact that all the gods ended up being dead or, you know, taken out and not playing a part in the ruling of the world anymore. But there are still individuals who have the blood of the gods in them, and these individuals have certain powers. Either they can do magic, or they have some sort of animal-like ability, like able to transform into a wolf or a dragon or a boar, you know, just some sort of animal ability that gives them, you know, sharpened senses and extra strength and speed and things like that. And kind of the magic system in this world, there are a couple of different groups who do true magic, but for everyone else who has this god blood in them, it's more just a, like I said, a strengthening of their abilities and a heightening of their senses. And if you do have this god blood, it's not looked at as a positive thing since the gods were so terrible. If you're found to have this blood, you're called tainted, and they put you in a collar, someone owns you, and they control you. They have the right to use your strength and your abilities. So you're not free, and it can be kind of a terrible existence depending on who your master is. And as you can imagine, the people with this tainted blood, they're not okay with the situation that they found themselves in. And throughout this series, we're following three different individuals. One named Orca, who is a mother. She was a great warrior at one time in her past, but she left that life behind in order to raise her son in a more peaceful environment. We're also following a young man named Varg, who is a thrall. So he's basically been used to fight other people on his master's land and then also help with farm work, things of that nature. But he's always seemed to have had this strength and this ability to win in these fights. He doesn't really know why. Sometimes things get like red and hazy, and he's never really been sure what causes that. And when we catch up with him at the beginning, he has just escaped from his master. And then the third individual we're following is Elvar, and she is a young woman whose father is the ruler of one of the bigger cities in this particular realm. But her and her father do not see eye to eye. Her father is a very mean, vindictive kind of ruler. He's only after power, and because of that, Elvar has went off on her own and joined a mercenary band to kind of make her own name in the world and get out from underneath her father's thumb. So John Gwynne really has a lot of great world building throughout this book. The characters are developed really well, and you really become invested in their stories. And that's just a little bit about the series as a whole. I, of course, don't want to go into too much detail because I am now in the third book of the series. and I don't want to spoil it for anyone who hasn't read it yet. So I will keep this spoiler free as we finish out the book. And then I'm thinking I'll probably finish it either tonight with you all or tomorrow. And then once we finish The Fury of the Gods, we're going to start into Red City, which is an urban fantasy. And I'll talk a little bit more about that book once I start reading it with you. But for now, I just got off work. I'm going to go change and get in my comfy clothes, get Luna on a walk, because today was my first day back in the office after the holidays, and she was mildly traumatized that she had to stay home all day without me. So she definitely has some energy to get out. And then once I have a reading update, or if I start to do anything that I think you might find interesting, I'll check back in with you. So Luna and I just got back from our walk. We did about 1.5 miles. I try to take her on at least a 30 to 45 minute walk each day because she's 6, but she still has all the energy. And like I said, I had went back in the office today, so she had a little extra energy, as you saw by her after walk crazies that she had on the couch. But now, as I cool back off, because our weather's been crazy here. It's been from the 20s, and then like today it's 52, so it's kind of been all over the place, but I am sweating after that walk. But I did want to do just like a tiny bit of decorating in my living room. I had bought some new pillow covers for one set of the pillows I have on the couch. Pretty neutral, but that's kind of what I wanted, is for the other pillows to be able to pop on the couch. And then for Christmas, I bought myself some kind of boho-y prints to put on the wall. So we're gonna go ahead, put those up, see what we think. I've been in this space, like we moved into this condo about a year ago, so I'm still just getting around to some of the decorating. It's kind of a slow process, but slowly I'm getting there and picking out a few pieces that I like. So I think it actually turned out pretty good. I like the cream colored cushions here on the gray couch, and they make the green ones behind them pop a little more. And then there's kind of a better shot of the prints on the wall. I did hang them up a little higher than I necessarily wanted to, but my nephew is 6'2" who lives with me, and I didn't want his head slamming into the pictures. So yeah, I think it turned out cute. I think I still need a little artwork for there and over there, but it's a good start for me. So one thing that's interesting about the series is not in the first book, but in the books that followed, we are getting two perspectives that are of the, you know, quote unquote enemies or the villains. And it makes me wonder how that's going to play out at the end. Are these two villains going to die? Is something else going to happen? I, of course, don't want any of my heroes to die, but I am curious as to how it's going to play out, since we've been getting these other two people's perspectives. They're not leaders in the enemy's army, but they are part of it, and they've definitely made choices that aren't great and overall are not good people. So I'll be curious to see if John Gwynn lets these two live to the end, because now we've grown to know them. Do we root for them a little bit? Do we not root for them? Do we want them dead? I can't wait to see how that portion of it plays out. That cannot have just happened. I'm hoping that what just happened in this battle isn't going to stay that way. I definitely wasn't expecting it, and I'm going to be super sad. So hopefully this is not what I think it is. Hello my friends, happy Tuesday. So I am back to give you another reading update. So today is Tuesday, I just got off work, it's around 4 p.m. and I just got home, so I thought this was the perfect time to give you a little update. So I did finish Fury of the God last night, and I believe when I left you, something had just happened that I was hoping really couldn't be true. It was indeed true. So there was a lot of twists and turns at the end of the book, and some things happened that truly shocked me, and there were many tears shed. But overall, I really enjoyed the book. Out of the 3 books in the trilogy, this one was my favorite. It was a 5-star read for me. I will say the battle at the end went on a real long time. It stayed interesting, like things kept moving and changing, but probably the last 75% of the book or so was all like the big ending battle. So there was a lot that took place in that last 150 pages, but it was really a great trilogy. John Gwynne is kind of a master at writing these epic fantasies with the detailed worlds and the characters that we grow to love and root for, and then, you know, just a host of side characters as well. So definitely we'll be reading more from this author, and if you haven't tried any of John Gwynne's books, or if you have but haven't read the Bloodsworn Saga yet, definitely pick it up. It's worth the read. And then, now that we have finished that book, today I'm going to be moving on to Red City by Marie Lu. And this is an urban fantasy, and it is a Romeo and Juliet retelling, and there's some sort of alchemical magic in it. And our 2 main characters, our female main character and our main male character, start off as childhood friends, but they end up in separate kind of ruling gangs that are in this particular city that control this substance that allows people to do the alchemy magic. So I don't know if you'd really call it an enemies to lovers. They started off as friends, but then, you know, when they start working for these kind of rival factions, they become enemies at that point. So it'll be really interesting to see how things play out in this book. I've only heard good things about it, so I'm excited to jump into this book later. And then I also wanted to give you guys a little book haul. I got a few books that I picked up myself, a book I got for Christmas, and then my book of the month box came as well. So first up, I have The Ever King by L.J. Andrews. And I am a real fan of L.J. Andrews' works. I know it doesn't work for everyone, but her writing really does work for me. I think she does banter so well that I just eat up her books. I've read several series by her, and I've wanted to get to this one for a long time, but I'm just now getting around to it. And in this book, we're following a scarred king, and he's like been trapped underwater in this prison. And then his enemy's daughter ends up freeing him somehow, and then he kidnaps her, and things kind of progress from there. I know I'm going to love this one. It feels like it's going to be very Pirates of the Caribbean, high seas, pirate adventure, but maybe with some, you know, merfolk and sirens kind of thrown in for good measure. So I hope to get to this one in the next couple of months. Now, I have heard people say that they really enjoyed this first book, but then the second and third book wasn't as good for them. We'll see if that's the case for me, but I definitely wanted to give this series a try. I also picked up Wild Reverence by Rebecca Ross, and it has these cool black sprayed edges there. And I have not read anything from Rebecca Ross yet, so she's an author I've been wanting to try for quite some time now. I know she wrote the Divine Rivals book, which is a super popular YA duology. This particular book is a prequel to Divine Rivals, but this one is an adult fantasy opposed to the YA fantasy that Divine Rivals and the sequel to that one is. I haven't been reading a ton of YA lately. I feel like I'm aging out of it a little bit, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to start with this one as far as her books were concerned, since I knew it was her adult fantasy debut. From what I've heard about this book, we're following a goddess named Matilda, and she has messenger magic, and the messenger magic in itself isn't something that's considered very powerful, but she has something else that she's hiding that the other gods would definitely take notice of if they knew about it. She's also been having these dreams about a young man. She's not sure who the young man is or why she's having these dreams, but she does end up meeting him, and a romance ensues from there. So I thought this one sounded like a fun book to get started with. I love me a good god or goddess and mortal relationship. So yeah, excited to pick this one up. Then for Christmas, I got Hollow, and this edition is absolutely beautiful. And this book is by Carolyn Peckham and Suzanne Valentini, and they are the authors that wrote The Zodiac Academy. I have not read that series. I'm not too big on the bully trope, but this is set in a completely different world. And let me show you the end pages here as well. And doesn't have that particular trope in it, so I wanted to give their writing a try. And here's the gorgeous art that's on the inside. So pretty. So yeah, really excited about this edition. There's also art inside of it. And in this, we're following a young human woman, and she is going to be competing in the Great Hunt. I believe it takes place every 50 or 100 years. And in this hunt, you have to go in search of these different forest spirits that are in this enchanted forest, which they had me at Enchanted Forest and Forest Spirits. But if you do, all these different tasks during this great hunt and you find these spirits, then you get like a magical boon at the end, and that is what our female main character is going for. And of course there will be a love interest in here. This is a romantasy. Just the little blurb on the back sounds amazing. Don't listen to the whisper of the woods. Don't trust the man cloaked in shadow. Don't earn the wrath of the scattered spirits. Don't go out after dark. So definitely has kind of those spooky vibes. I'm sure it's going to be very atmospheric and kind of gothic and moody. So I was really excited to get this one. And then also today, my Book of the Month box came, and I love Book of the Month. This isn't sponsored. I paid for this service with my own money. But it's a book subscription box, and it really is a great deal because depending on the membership you get, the books work out to around $15 to $16 a month, and for a hardback, that's a great price. And if there's not a book that you want that particular month, you can either just let your credit roll over to the next month, which is what I do most of the time, or you can skip months as well. But I usually just let the credits roll over, and then the following month I pick up 2 books. But for this month, the fantasy selection was Rings of Fate, and this is the first book in the Curses and Crowns series by Melissa Dela Cruz. And there's the cover there, and this one does have really pretty sprayed edges. Some of the Book of the Month boxes have sprayed edges, some do not. This one, I just thought the premise sounded really interesting. Oh, this one has pretty end pages too. Let me show you that real quick before I read you the blurb. Very pretty. And it has the date on the front too, that it was from January. And that's the back pages. And I hadn't heard of this book prior to seeing it on the list for January for Book of the Month, but the blurb got me. So here's a little bit of that. She is a barmaid who doesn't believe in fairy tales. He's a prince cursed to live one. Erin Bellamore has no interest in being anyone's princess. She's too busy running the Raven's Beak Tavern, fending off unwanted marriage proposals and dreaming of escape. But when I brush with death and a dangerously handsome stranger upend her life, Erin finds herself bound to a bargain that can change everything. Prince Diatan has carried the curse of the Rings of Fate, ancient weapons of devastating power, since childhood. The magic is killing him, and the enemies are closing in. To make the journey to reverse his curse, he needs a bride to hide his secrets. Erin wants freedom, so pretending to be his fiancé should give them both what they want. So, this is definitely going to be marriage of convenience trope from the sound of it. I typically like that trope pretty well. That and fake dating, enemies to lovers. Those are kind of my 3 favorite kind of tropes. But yeah, so definitely looking forward to reading this one. And that's it for my kind of little book haul there. So now I'm just gonna go ahead and get changed out of my work clothes and then do my normal evening things, walking Luna, having dinner. And then once I get into Red City and get far enough in to give you like a real reading update, I will check back in with you. Hello my friends, happy Wednesday. As you can see, I just got home from work, so Luna is going to be Velcro for a little while, but I am so glad to be home. I don't know what your all's work situation is like, but and I know I'm fortunate for this to be the case, but I go into the office Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then I get to work from home on Thursday and Friday. So by the time I get to the end of the day Wednesday, and sorry if you can hear Luna with her toy there, but by the time I get to the end of the day Wednesday, I am just so ready to come home and not be peoply and just veg for a little bit. Like I said, I know I'm fortunate that I only have to go in 3 days, but the 3 days seems like a lot sometimes. But anywho, I am home from work now and I wanted to give you a little reading update on Red City. I didn't get very far in the book. I think I'm about 50 pages in so far, but I am really liking it so far. Marie Lu's writing is very descriptive, and I think she conveys feelings really well in her writing. So I've been enjoying that so far. We're following Sam, who is a young girl, and Ari, who is a young boy, or at least when we meet them, they're younger. At the point I'm at now, they're high school aged. And they form an unlikely friendship when they reach middle school. And this friendship continues through high school, but it's very, I don't want to say surface level. It is an intense friendship, but they don't share any personal information with this friendship. They kind of just exchange letters back and forth, chatting about different things and kind of going over their views or beliefs or feelings on certain topics, but they never get into their personal lives. And that's kind of where I am at this point. Ari has been moved away from his family, and he's basically living alone in an apartment, being schooled, and it's kind of like almost like an indentured servant situation. For his performance, his academic performance, there is money sent back to his family. So he always feels like he has to strive to, you know, really achieve a lot in school, even though school's not the easiest thing for him. And he has lessons after school that he also has to, that are part of this kind of indentured service that helps his family still get paid money for him being here. And then Sam is a young girl. It's just her and her mom. Her mom works very hard in a restaurant, but they don't have a lot. But Sam has always had a really unique lookout on the world. So I've been really enjoying that portion of the book, just getting these two different perspectives and the way that their relationship is written. And like, we've had little smatterings of the alchemy portion of the story, but we haven't learned a lot about it yet. I'm sure we're going to learn more and more as the book goes on, but that's kind of where I am. I am sure I will read more this evening, and then once I get a little bit further in there, I'll be sure to give you another reading update. So that is all my updates for now. And then, like I said, once I get some more reading in, I will catch back up with you later. Alright, my friendlies, I wanted to give a little reading update on Red City. I'm almost halfway through now, so have a much better idea of what's going on in the book, and I am really enjoying it. We have just gotten to a point where our female main character and our male main character have come back together, seen each other again after about 4 or 5 years of them kind of drifting apart and not speaking to each other. So I think the pacing from this point is really going to start to pick up because we're kind of getting into the meat and the plot. Our female main character, Sam, she is working for one kind of gang or clan of alchemists, and Ari is working for another one, and they're opposing sides. Sam's group tries to be more on the upper edge, wanting more wealthy people to be the ones buying this product called sand, and Ari's group is more wants it to be where anyone can use this. That way, you know, kind of the more people that are using it, the more demand there will be for sand. And what sand is it's basically a chemical substance. They're calling it like the philosopher's stone, where it just makes you the best version of yourself. Now, they haven't gotten to the point where they're talking a lot about the consequences for taking this sand. Right now it's all being promoted as this, it brings out your best qualities. It does also bring out your weaknesses too and amplify those, but the focus has been on how it brings out the best qualities in a person, either making them more beautiful, more charismatic, sharpening up their senses, things like that. But in my eyes, and there's been slight mentionings of this as well, any sort of drug or substance like that, there's going to be negative consequences as well. We haven't heard a ton about those yet, so we'll see as the story progresses. Now, this is an urban fantasy, so we are set in the modern world, which that is not always my favorite. But I found that in this particular story, the way that it's written, where it's just, kind of commonplace, there's no like cringy social media moments or a lot of slang being used, that the urban setting is a lot easier for me to digest when it doesn't have some of those other kind of fatty type elements in it. So really enjoying it. I'm going to continue reading this book today and hopefully either get all the way through it or get most of the way through it. And then I'll definitely be back later with another reading update. So I finished Red City and I really enjoyed it. I think I'm going to land at about a 4 stars. There are a lot of twists and turns in this book. Our characters, both Sam and Ari, are definitely morally gray. they are kind of stuck or brought into their actions in these different alchemy factions by circumstances that aren't necessarily their fault, but in the end they choose to do, some of these kind of horrible bad things, not only for their survival, but also at times because they want to, because they've grown to kind of enjoy the power that they have from alchemy and how it makes them feel and the things it allows them to do. So they're definitely, both characters are more on the morally gray side. They come from very humble beginnings. So, there is kind of an allure to the lifestyle that they end up living. It's lots of nice clothes, large bank accounts, beautiful places to live. But in the end, they are asked to do terrible things. So it was a really interesting kind of dynamic in the book. I wouldn't say that this is a traditional love story in any sort of way. And I don't want to go into too much detail about that because I think it could spoil some of the book, but just know it's not a conventional love story. Both of our characters definitely on the morally gray side. Still rooting for them. I believe this is going to be a series. From the way it ended, I can't imagine that this is a standalone. So I can't wait to see where the story goes in our next book. I definitely will be continuing the series. It wasn't a 5-star for me because I did feel like the pacing was a little off. A good majority of the first part of the book is just building that story, building the relationship, building those circumstances. But I felt like that could have been sped up just a little bit and the book still be enjoyable and us still be invested in Ari and Sam's relationship and them as characters. So it was a little slow at the beginning, but then once you get to the point where they have kind of gone their separate ways, the book really does start to pick up. But that doesn't happen until about 40 or 50% of the way through the book. So because of that pacing, that's why I'm at a 4-star. We will see how the series continues. I would imagine in the next book, the pacing won't be as big of an issue because, our characters and the world is already established, but we'll see. So overall, a really good read for me. And then I also just wanted to say thank you so much for hanging out with me this week while we read Red City and finished up The Fury of the Gods. I'm really looking forward to doing a lot more reading vlogs this year and spending a lot more time with you, just getting to know you and you getting to know me and sharing my love of books. So I can't wait to see what this year brings for all of us. So yeah, just wanted to say thank you for being here and being part of my community on YouTube. Take care, keep reading, and I'll catch you in my next video. Bye.